Do you want to be able to run farther? Do you want to be able to run faster? Do you want to be able to run without injury? Do you want to be able to do all three? Stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. Today we're gonna do something a little bit different. Instead of doing a running workout, we're gonna go over how to run with proper form so you can run faster, farther, and without getting hurt. And yeah, look like a Kenyan. So we're gonna go over a couple of techniques, and then there will be techniques that you're gonna have to try pretty much every day to transform your current running form into the proper running form and get better and faster and not get hurt. So let's go over a couple things here today. What we're going to talk about today is the pose technique of running, and what this entails is basically changing your running stride and the whole paradigm of running to become more efficient, to become faster, and to not stress out your ligaments and joints and your muscles, things that become injured when you run improperly and with the wrong running stride. It has nothing to do with the shoes, well, maybe a little bit, but hardly anything to do with the shoes. It has everything to do with the proper form and the proper technique for running. So if you look at the Kenyans, you see they use the proper running form for the most part, and they run very light, they run very efficiently, and they run faster than any one of us. So we're gonna go over a couple exercises, and I'm gonna show you a couple techniques to work on, and these are gonna be techniques you have to work on every other day or so, every day even if you can, to change how you run. This is something I've been working on for the last 10 years or more, and it took me a long time to actually change my running form to become more efficient. And still to this day, when I get tired, my running form goes to pot just like most people's, and I become very inefficient, sorry. And so let's go over a couple things here. Okay, so the first thing to keep in mind is that everything has to be in the same plane, same alignment. So what I mean by that is a lot of time runners run by overstriding, by heel striking, that kind of thing, by dragging legs behind them, swinging legs forward. Very, very poor method of running. And I'll actually go and show you what bad running looks like. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on our form and our posture to properly run. So in order to have proper posture, everything must land underneath you. Everything must be in one straight line, this way and this way. So what I do with the runners that I work with is I have them start very simple, just by lifting their leg. That's it, just lifting your leg. And when they lift your leg, you're just focusing on bringing basically do a butt kicker, bring your heel to your butt, heel to your butt. That's it. You're just doing that. When you place your foot down, you don't place your foot down on your heel. You don't place it straight down. You place it so the midfoot or ball of your foot touches the ground first. So that's it. You heel up to your butt, heel, butt, heel, butt. So you work on that, the other side, heel, butt, butt. Just to kind of ingrain in your memory that this is how you're gonna be running. You're not swinging legs, you're not doing any of this, you're not putting your foot out, you're not putting your foot back. I think I'm doing the hokey pokey here. Anyway, so just straight up and down. Everything is straight up and down in nice alignment. And then once you get used to doing that, you do the other leg. And when you put your foot down on the ground, like I said, you put your midfoot down first, but you don't put it down, you're not doing this. All right, you put your foot down. As soon as you feel your foot touch the ground, you do this. The goal here is to be as light as possible, to have the minimum time that your foot is in contact with the ground. The more that your foot is in contact with the ground, it's more that forces are going through your leg and into the ground, and more impact that your legs feel and your joints feel, and that's how you become injured. So you're working on being as light as possible, touching the ground. So you just want to touch both legs. You want to do this. Just want to touch with the ball of your foot. Butt kickers, that's it. That's all you're doing, butt kickers. So when you try that for several minutes, because you will mess up, because you will start doing this, lifting your leg up, which is not what you want to do. You're literally just doing butt kickers. So you can try 20 on one side, 20 with the other leg. Work on just butt kickers, just bringing the foot up, bringing the foot up. It may seem ridiculous, but trust me, it's the best way to do this. Okay, now that you've embarrassed yourself doing butt kickers standing still, we're going to add a little bit to it to kind of get one step closer to running, because we're not close to running yet, obviously. So the next step entails doing that same technique, but with a little bit added intricacy to it to get you one step closer to the running form. Okay, so what you want to do now that you've perfected your butt kicking this way is you want to be able to work on the hop, the transition from one to the next. And it's not going to immediately to stationary running. So what we do is you bring one foot up and down. Just transition immediately from one to the next. And again, you just bring your heel up towards your butt. You're not lifting your leg up, you're not doing any of these or anything like that. Just literally working on alignment. And when you do these, where you stare is also very important. So when you're looking ahead doing these, you're looking not far off into the distance, you're not looking straight at the ground. So a lot of times I see, when I'm working with runners, I see them doing this. That's wrong, totally wrong. What you need to do is look 30 to 40 yards ahead of you and focus on the ground 30 or 40 yards ahead of you. So stay focused. Work on posture. So the other thing I want to talk about with posture is you're focusing 30 or 40 yards ahead, not looking at the ground, not looking at the sky, not looking a mile ahead. Also want to watch how your trunk is. So you're worried about your legs, you're concerned about what your feet are doing, but a lot of times people are like this. That's wrong. You want to have a very proud position. You want to have your chest up, shoulders slightly back, and be very proud of what you're doing. And when you're looking straight ahead, 30 to 40 yards ahead. Hands are light. And move with your step. Just like this. So, eyes straight forward, 30 to 40 yards ahead. 30 to 40 yards ahead. Proud chest, shoulders slightly back, relaxed, not hunched over, everything's in a nice alignment, and you're keeping a light foot, and you're keeping a heel straight up and down, straight up and down, straight up and down the whole time. Now, we work on that, do that every day, in addition to the first thing I showed you, and we'll go from there, do the third thing. All right, now that we've worked on two techniques now to improve your running form and to change how you run, we're gonna do the third thing, and this is gonna start looking like running now. So you're gonna take the two techniques that we just went over, and you're gonna link them all together. So let me show you what that looks like here. Okay, now that we've worked on straight up and down, one leg at a time as our first technique, and as a second exercise, we did alternating. We're going to do a third technique, and we're going to string it all together into basically a stationary run. So let me show you what that looks like. All right, so we're going to transition from our second technique to the third technique. Second technique was, as I reviewed before, is this. Now, stationary run. Again, working on proud posture, chest up, shoulders slightly back, arms relaxed, straight moving backward and forth, not side to side, looking 30 to 40 yards ahead of you. Everything in nice alignment, straight up and down. Foot just going up and down like a piston. And then a stationary run, just like this. And when you do this, you want to focus on having your feet touch the ground at the forefoot. Oops, as I float away from you. Kicking your butt, doing butt kickers. When you do this exercise, you want to focus on your foot, the forefoot, hitting the ground first, and as soon as you feel your forefoot hit the ground, you're working on getting your foot back up. So you're doing a fast leg lift here. So down, up, down, up. You want to minimize the time that your foot is on the ground. So if you're a heel striker, you spend a lot of time on the ground. If you're a sprinter, you watch the sprinters, they're fast cadence and their foot is not touching the ground very much at all. If you know what your cadence is for running, generally runners who have bad cadence have a cadence of around 160 to 170 steps per minute. That's both feet together. You should aim for 185 to over 190 steps per minute with a higher cadence. So that's including both feet. So 190 is like this. You see a lot of runners who overstride and lumbering along. Their feet are spending a lot of time on the ground. It's a lot of stress on their ligaments, bones, and muscles. You want to work on keeping your feet off the ground as much as possible. So going to technique number 3, here we go. This is what it looks like. We're going to have a relaxed breath. Focus on your feet barely touching the ground. Touch at the forefoot. Looking 30 to 40 yards ahead. Relaxed upper body. Proud shoulders and chest. So try that. Do that for a minute at a time. Take a breath and do it again, okay? So that's the third technique for improving your running form. And finally, we go to running. And there's one very simple thing to transition from doing what I just showed you, stationary, to actually running. And it's called falling. That's it. So, finally, after you've perfected technique 1, technique number 2, and the third technique when you're running in place, and do not cheat and just skip to the third technique. Really focus on, in your mind, visualizing your foot touching at the midfoot, barely touching the ground, and everything being in alignment, nice and even. Also, you want to make sure that when you're running, and if you're going in this direction, that everything is going in this direction. So, if you run like this, and your arms are going this way, anything in this direction is wasted. You're going this way. You run this way, forward, backward. That's it. Nothing side to side. You're not bringing your legs out. You're not bringing your arms out. You're not running like this. Anything in this direction, those two directions, is waste. So, finally, we go to running. So how do we transition from doing this to actually running movement? It's very simple. Let me show you without running, without moving, how to initialize running. Standing straight like this, you merely are going to fall forward. And what happens when you fall forward? You catch yourself because you don't want to fall on your face. So you lean forward, you stand straight here, and you're looking straight ahead, and all you do is fall forward. And you put your foot out to catch yourself. And that's how you transition from doing the stationary running to moving forward. Now, determine how fast you want to be running, determines how much you're leaning forward. So if you want to run fast, you lean forward more. If you don't want to run very fast, you lean forward less. Your cadence generally should not change that much. It should always be about the same, 185 to 190 plus steps per minute. But so it should not change. The only thing that would change is how much you lean forward, because that determines how much you're going to move forward. So in order to do that, let me show you what it looks like just going from stationary running to moving forward and what happens, and I'll go over some of the mistakes people make when they try to transition from stationary running to moving to running forward. Okay, so you're doing the third technique, stationary running. You're looking forward 30 to 40 yards ahead of you. You have proud shoulders and chest. Everything's nice in alignment. Doing butt kickers, high cadence. Forefoot is touching the ground first and then coming up immediately. Arms are relaxed, upper body relaxed. And all you do is lean your entire body forward. And that's it. That's all that's required to run properly. And it's a lot harder than it looks. In order to do this successfully, you have to practice the techniques every day. You have to focus on your form all the time, on every run. Doesn't matter if it's an easy 2 miles around the block or a marathon. Focus on your form at all times. Otherwise, the bad habits come back and they'll get you again. So if you want to run faster doing this, obviously you'll lean forward more, but what happens is everything stays in alignment. And what happens too many times is when people go transition from stationary running to moving forward, instead of their whole body leaning forward, they lean their chest forward. And yes, it has the same effect, you fall forward, but it's wasted energy. It's not efficient, it's not in alignment, and it can cause it constrains the hamstrings, it strains other muscles as well. So everything needs to be in alignment. The goal here is to have your feet always landing underneath your body. So if you're running along and you notice that your foot's out here and you can see the toes of your shoes, you're doing something wrong. Your feet should always be landing underneath the center of your body. Everything should be in one line, one plane. All right, so one more time, the 3 techniques, actually 4 techniques, is starting here, doing butt kicker, looking straight forward, 30 to 40 yards ahead, proud chest and shoulders. Going to the second technique. Third technique. And finally, going forward. One way to tell if you're doing things right or wrong is first, if you can see your feet out in front of you, there's definitely something wrong. If you have wear on your shoes and your heels of your shoes are wearing out, you're doing something wrong. The other thing is what you can do is run on sand or gravel. And if you have too much of this going on when you're running, that's wrong. So everything should be underneath you. Wide steps, even in gravel. Anyway, I hope that was helpful to you. I'll try to get a couple shots of me going fast, doing this pose technique and running with proper form. Well, I hope that was helpful to you. One final tip I can offer when you work on this new running form, the pose technique, is to imagine when you actually are doing the movement going forward, imagine that there's a string attached to your shirt and you're being pulled forward. You maintain everything in one alignment, but you're being pulled forward, so you start running again. So imagine that there's a string tied to your shirt and someone's pulling it and everything else stays in alignment. That's a a mental image that I try to use sometimes to help improve my form. So anyway, I hope that is helpful to you. This is called a pose technique. There are other names to this technique, but they all emphasize your foot landing underneath your body, higher cadence, and the falling aspect. Instead of pushing forward and raising your legs, literally just falling forward, catching yourself, and then bringing your foot back up again to have a nice, efficient, fast, injury-free run. I recommend that you transition over to this kind of running over time carefully. If you feel any kind of pains, to back off and make sure you do not get injured. So that's about it for today. Leave any comments down below. Give a big thumbs up on the video if you think this is helpful. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Until next time, peace.
Untouched by anybody so far. This is Radcliffe-esque. This is Eliud Kipchoge in supreme form. 150 meters to run. The crowds of the German capital roar him on. He smiles now. He knows the record is his. 2:02.57 by Dennis Kimetto, his compatriot, was a magical mark. The first sub 2:03 clocking. This will be the first sub 2:02 clocking, and by a monstrous margin he is going to break the world record. He comes towards the line, raises a sprint on those magical legs, and at last the world record is his. How fitting is this? The Olympic champion is the world record holder. 2:01.40 unofficially there for Eliud Kipchoge.